Let's do it.
That requires.
We do.
In fact. Call to order the May 7th, 2025 meeting of the Georgetown Promotions Commission. Roll call, please. Here.
Mike Huggins.
Here.
Paul Vogt.
Here.
Kevin Kumar.
Here.
Gary Haynes. Justin Trubat. Mary Smith.
Here.
I know.
We're all here. Call order the May 7th, 2025 meeting of the. And I sound good.
Pause.
Mary Smith.
Here.
You hear yourself, you're like, oh, I don't sound. Sorry.
All right, we're all set.
All right, thank you. Agenda approval. Anybody have any comments on the agenda?
Nope.
No?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Gary is now here. Audience business, audience have 5 minutes to present the matter of interest related to the business of the town that is not already on the agenda. Those attending virtually may use the chat feature or raise your hand and we'll make you a panelist. Anybody out there, Bridget?
Going out there in the winter wonderland.
Okay, any new business owners, operators? Fans? No? Minutes approval, we've got minutes for March 5th, March 19th, April 2nd, and April 16th in your packets.
I make a motion to approve the March 5th, March 19th, April 2nd, and April 16th minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Right, I'm trying to silence my phone.
It's okay.
All right. New and unfinished business, yes, marketing events.
Me?
Yeah.
My report.
Yep.
Howdy, okay, so in front of you guys, you have cards and a breakfast, mostly because this month marks my 2 years being with Georgetown, so I just wanted to thank you. I do get paid to be here, you do not. So as volunteers who drive this town forward, I personally thank you for your support. You can read it now or later, the thought from Alice.
Well, thank you. I, for one, will go out on a limb and say that we've been thrilled with what you've helped us accomplish, I think, since you came on board. And I think we've gotten to do a lot of things that we probably wouldn't have necessarily been able to do without your skill set. Well done. Anybody else?
We appreciate you.
We do.
I'll leave that.
All right. What about your report?
All right, diving right in. So a few events that we have coming up is our Epic Day of Service. BPC is not on the hook for anything. The dumpsters do go to Parks and Rec. We are gonna be having 6 roll-offs over the event parking space. We've got town, people around town coming, our game. One of the ice driving clubs will be there taking care of the lake. Selectman Rich Barrows has some leaders and teams taking care of the creek. And then we have designated people going around town. Other than that, Georgetown Days is coming along. We've got our pancake breakfast that we like to host. If anyone would like to volunteer their time to prep, we do have you guys volunteer to help host. Whether you were last year taking the cashier role or hosting the people, all is appreciated.
And that's
Memorial Weekend, that's the 23rd,
Starting Friday.
starting Friday.
but it's Friday's the day that we're doing the pancake. Yes, yeah.
8 AM to 10 AM, 9 AM, we do open Guanella Pass, we are sharpening our scissors, and Georgia is agreed to give a slight speech.
To be mine's
I believe so. The following day, Borough Race has all of their paperwork in, signed and completed, no new changes. They're really excited to utilize Strauss Park now that it's complete. It should be an exciting day. Moving into Sunday, a small business Sunday, although we don't have anything super concrete, we do have Mother's Saloon stepping up and hosting a concert down at their venue. 14th Street is technically their parking lot, but they have put in all of their paperwork and we're working with them to get that finalized. And then Monday is our Memorial Day ceremony. Georgia, our new police judge, is also scheduled to speak. Ron Solomon will play for a little bit and then the flag will be raised by noon.
Actually, their parking lot is actually 14th Street.
Well, yes, their parking lot is town property as it's a street. So they do have a street closure to shut down that parking lot. The following weekend, we do have all things in agreement and invoices sent to Idaho Springs and Clear Creek County Tourism Bureau. We are all agreed to work together on the Outdoor Fest. We'll be meeting next week to discuss what that really looks like. Since this is a sustainable festival, little gimmicky things like stickers create waste. So we're gonna have to get kind of creative with this one. The marketing will be very specific. We'll be under one guise of Visit Clear Creek County, but with the GMOs of Georgetown and Idaho Springs and other volunteers. We'll definitely get some face time with our demographic that we're looking for to say, we are Georgetown, we would love for you to hear all about the fun stuff going on in our backyard. Other than that, we're still working with some of our county players. So Colton not only will be speaking tonight at our business briefing, but he will be providing more data for our food truck ordinance. I do have that. Unfortunately, didn't pass that 2 days ahead of time, but it's with you now. Once we get more data, that's gonna be the driver to attract them here. I'm driving the marketing, the visuals, the why, but the data will help support that because you can't really argue with numbers. CCEDC, we're going into our business resilience conversations. That will be on May 14th at the Indian Hot Springs. Selectman Representative Amanda Cooper will be there. Paul Boat showed up at the last one in Blackhawk. If there's any interest, please let me know. I do have notes from the last one. We're working on the odd numbered years for even number years through 2030.
The only reason I showed up is because I'm the representative for storm preservation.
Correct, yeah, but although he does have his own or other interests, Paul's always supportive of this commission as well. And then May 22nd, the county will be hosting a mixer. I will be there representing Georgetown, as I sit on the board of directors for that. Any drives or conversations around that, just let me know. It's a very light one today, mostly just because we've been planning and prepping for our summer season. The biggest thing that we're needing this year is volunteers. We're working on a new campaign to really strategize on how to get people from saying, I would love to help, to being their boots on the ground. Since town has taken over the pancake breakfast, that was me going to get the food, me getting up at 5 a.m. to cook the food, me being there at 7 a.m. to prep the stations, me being there all day to have the event go well, get people's speeches done, and of course clean up. So not just your support since you are here volunteering as of this moment, your championship throughout the community will help a long way.
Did we tell you how we appreciate you?
No, that was a good point. Some updates on the Rocky Mountain Dragon Boat Festival. The man who was organizing it was unaware of some of their specific rules. The water temperature plus the outside temperature has to equal 100 degrees. We've been doing some research to kind of gather that. However, we think the best play here would be to do some data collection over the summer, working with Georgetown Paddle as they're out there every day, collecting that and seeing if we can put it on for 2026. That is the 250, 150 hosted by the state, 250 Colorado, 150 anniversary for the US. We are looking for,
Is that, I'm sorry, is that their requirement?
yes, that is the Dragon Boat head honcho.
40 degrees.
In August, the water's gonna be 45 plus.
So we have to have it 60 degrees, basically.
55
That's
degrees.
easy, that's easy.
However, it depends on the start of the race. So in the morning, when it's typically around the 40 to 50, does that equal the full hurdle? We are collecting those data points now, creating a spreadsheet and sending to him. The most recent update as of last week was to try to hold off until next year. But I'm still pushing that data, saying, I don't know, I think we could.
When does he need to?
He
Or
was
are,
thinking
or are
end of
they,
June.
have they pulled it for 2025?
He hasn't really started advertising. We do have paperwork submitted, nothing paid for. He wants to reconnect at the end of June with some more data points. We were looking at AccuWeather, which is the one that the state and we look at, and it has some really good numbers that's in support. It's above 100. But just because most people aren't wearing wetsuits, the goal is not to get in the water, and we are working on a plan with the fire authority to utilize a warming hut for a rescue station. Things will be in place, but they're just hesitant.
So Bob Leffler is involved in the weather.
Yeah,
He's
they've got,
a weather whiz, and we've got that, we've got that, you know, temperature or whatever, we've got that whole system down there that
oh yeah, I wonder if that SCADA system collects.
they should be able to at least provide
Can- so
ambient.
check with Ryan and see if it's called a SCADA system or see if he's collecting temperature data from the lake every day.
Wonderful.
And then I'll email the weather geeks.
I would love to have that business.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, we may already have it there.
Okay, no, I've been trying to collect it, so that would be super helpful. Cause then we're also looking at not just hosting something downtown, but also something, or having something here downtown, not just at the lake.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity, not just for our heritage tourism, but food. We have so many food vendors who are of Asian descent who actually are interested in coming, providing and telling some stories. So we're trying to build a little bit more fun along with, you know, dragon boats.
Actually, too.
yeah, I think we should be able to provide that weather information, rather than waiting, hold off for a whole year. I mean, if they're accepting this one.
Okay,
Other than that, I think those are my big highlights. I kept it really quick. In the back up here, you will see some of the ideas drafted for the outside festival. So guess that scent, nature smell jars, or picture collage where you can take a picture with a photo frame, have a hashtag. These are more measurable ROIs that we're looking for. So capturing QR codes, emails. How do we say that our spent, which is roughly right now $1,333, I believe, is worth this event?
I
And then,
don't
of
know
course,
if
the
anything
agreement.
else, I went online and kind of looked at that event, I think it nails the demographic, there were, you know, one of the demographics that we're trying to target in the outdoor, dispersed outdoor recreation category, I think it's right on that, so.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions for Jess?
I will be talking throughout this meeting with other topics as they come, so don't worry, you'll get more FaceTime.
So I just wanna jump back in time for just a couple.
Go for it.
So when I reviewed the minutes, we had approved you to do a advertising campaign down at DIA in March.
Yes,
And I'm wondering, and not off the top of your head here, but if we have any information, ROI on that, and or is that something that you can follow up with Colton on, and could he put together some data that shows us, you know, was that a good bang for our buck?
yeah, absolutely. There was a brief update in the last one that I pushed out, just on some of the numbers, who saw it, who didn't. Through the CTO, that Tourism Tuesday email that I pushed you guys at the bottom, I've been collecting that week by week DIA reports. You do see a bit of a spike in trends, but year to year, we have been seeing less people traveling. You don't know if that's the economy, the weather, all sorts of things can predict that, but I can get a more robust,
See if he's,
yeah, going into that, because we did put $120, I believe, into it, and we spent 95, and that was even after the checkoff date, because so little people were there and able to view the ad.
thanks.
Of course,
Couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
The Main Street connection,
yes.
is this the CDOT Main Street program?
No, this is part of the state's program. This is like a light and fluffy deal, so you kind of have to give a little bit of money to be a part of their coalition, and then they have resources for the new business welcome packet or volunteer campaigns.
Okay.
Cindy Neely kind of advised against going with them and entering their organization, but still said utilize them as a tool because they are helpful. She just didn't know if the ROI would be there.
Did you pursue the bollard covers?
I'm still designing those, hopefully trying to get those done and in by Memorial.
Uh,
And do they make them more Or can they make them reflective? Did you find that out yet?
I have not found any that offer the reflective, so we've been leaving space in the design, and then we are looking at tape or paint, depending on the weather.
Okay. I think that's all I got.
Of course.
Anybody else? Questions for Jess?
Oh, you're Corvette Club that's coming in on the fourth, that's
Yes,
from Black Hills.
no, this was an inspiration, Black Hills, South Dakota does a great job having huge car clubs come through. This was just another push, we've talked about car clubs, we've invited them up before, but that 250 street closure tends to be a hurdle for them. If we park sideways, it probably would be $250 per street closure, that's a road and bridge, that's not a.
Well,
Yeah,
then
I-
you make sure you bring that kind of stuff up, if that's a deterrent. Then we need to know that, because it's an event we want. We think it's beneficial.
The group that usually comes up is Looking Glass Corvettes.
Mm,
It's our
okay.
members, so.
And I emailed with them, it was a different club, they came up, I believe Mike you joined the group, was it
The
year or
Mustang
two
one?
ago? Yes, there was an incident with a Mustang club, they were supposed to get a street closure. A resident and the road and bridge director got into it, so then the street was not closed. We were able to work with it just fine, however, we just need to have some cleanup of paperwork on my end to make sure everything's fixing.
Well, if you get the feedback from folks who wanna do something here. That our permit fees or whatever are a deterrent. Make sure you bring that forward and bring it forward very quickly. In those cases, so that we can address it either through,
Can I bring up one that I've totally forgotten until right
You
now?
guys agree? we wanna hear about that stuff.
So those are the things that we.
Like our
we
farmers
said more that we
market.
want to review in our code and our application, declaration.
That- So which one you got right now?
Farmers market, we're doing, is it appropriate to make one form, check every box that they want for the summer, and then have one fee? Waive the fee like we discussed in previous months on how to attract people here. I'm so sorry, this
Is it-
stressed with my head.
Is it BPC fee?
It's our vendor fee, correct?
Strauss Park right now, the application that has been in existence for years and years and years and years was a $25 fee to offset the utilities over there. But I would imagine for the most part during the daytime, in the summer, there's not a lot of electricity used other than maybe to ensure that you keep your, you know,
Well,
point
I
of
can turn it
sale
off.
charging
if that's,
operation.
if it takes a grand total of $250 in sales. For collectively, for the state, the county, and Georgetown to collect $25 sales tax revenue. Right?
Mhm.
So it takes, call it 500. For Georgetown to collect the $25 in its own sales tax revenue. It's kind of a no brainer. So. I don't know how we approach that. I mean, should we, since we're talking about it right now, should we be like, listen, if the $25 fee is a problem? I like the idea, if it's gonna be the same function. Weekly throughout the course, and the $25 fee is basically paying, you're saying utilities. It sounds like,
It was a utility fee, but realize that. Other organizers, market organizers will charge a fee, they'll charge, to set up.
Absolutely.
And that also puts, as I've said, skin in the game, and then they show up, because we don't want them not showing up. So.
right,
I don't know, and I don't know if Justice had the opportunity and the time to look at some of the other summer farmers markets and what they're charging for their vendors to set up. I mean, they're all over, we know this, Dillon, Highlands Ranch, go to any other town except Georgetown or Idaho Springs, any other town outside of Clear Creek County, and you'll see that there are multiple farmers markets. And it's huge for them. I mean, they're setting up on every holiday. They're, Mother's Day, you're gonna find so many people out there.
I had farmer's market. I ran one with a friend in Atlanta. Granted, over 15 years ago now, but. In order to get these people out here, especially since we have a reputation of them being screamed at and threatened in the past.
But that's an.
Literally in the literal sense. I think that it would be wise for us to offer incentives for the beginning until it picks up, because let me tell you, I used to go and buy every vegetable from every person who didn't sell that day to make sure they came, because they were so disappointed sometimes. Until it starts to take off, and then when it takes off, you can charge the heck out of them, and you know, it's not like you get free tax forever on your Coliseum, but I think that if we forwent it, I don't know if I'm disagreeing with you or agreeing, I'm just doing my 2 cents. If we forwent that fee, then we could charge in the hundreds per one if they're making their money.
I agree that we need to minimize our fees to get ourselves established.
Yeah.
And then over time, next year, maybe we up it a little bit, but I would hate to see us think that we're gonna have 10 vendors in Strauss Park on Saturday and no one shows or half show. And so maybe it's a refundable
Yes.
fee,
That
you know,
works.
type thing. I mean, you know, it's a little bit of activity on our part, but
If you show up,
yeah,
Show the refund, I'm in for that, I just think that we need to. And I understand the skin in the game part of it, 'cause that's just.
I like that.
We've had a situation last summer, Paul was there, a jeweler came up, she made some good sales, but then she was kind of bored and she left by the day. So the 3 other people who did come up, then lost somebody to attract and bring them here, so.
there's gotta be enough.
I can look into ways to reduce our fee, refund the fee, minimize overweighting the fee, maybe a 1 to 3 year plan. 3 to 5 year increase in 5+ years once we're established, cause you are correct, those are significant fees in other areas like Dillon, City Park down in Denver, Lakewood, I've done research on those, you have anywhere between. $300 for the whole summer for the smaller ones in Lakewood to $1,000 for the entire summer in City Park. I think roughly where we 5 and 7 is Dillon, so it's really interesting, but those are multiple weekends, high volume days, established events.
Yep.
We could be premier, we just gotta do something.
can you get, not we,
Yeah.
you. So we pay the big bucks for, can you get the train passenger count on an average Saturday in the summer, if that's the days that we're targeting,
Yeah,
so that you can show that enticement to the vendors?
yeah,
And, you know, that's just gonna be another draw for them, because at this point in time, the vendors are booked at other markets.
Yeah.
And we want to be somewhat discriminating in the products that we have. And if it is a farmer's market, we better be
yeah.
committing that X% is true farmer's market.
And Matt Anderson with those.
Yeah, let's not have any of those.
I try to tell them no. We do have one local interested in coming, we do have some people offering their assistance, like Sam from Clear Creek Inn has quite a few connections now that the ski season's kind of wrapping up allegedly. He's hoping to really finalize the vendors that we have, who we can offer and who we can attract. I'm really interested in this partnership, though we did get burned by our last introduction into this, so we're just gonna keep moving forward, whether that's moose market, farmers market, and all the other fun things in between that go with it.
It's pretty easy to get the rules from somebody else who has theirs. So it's this percentage of crafts, this percentage of this, and no pre-made sales, things like that. Also, you'll find that a lot of farmers market vendors are not farmers, especially in this region. They'll be resellers, but they're getting little fresh fruit and vegetables, and then artisan foods where you really can, and if you have. And then the next step for us as a group would be to go to farmers markets around and find out who the people are from the Western Slope who actually make cheese, and chat with them about coming and how we can incentivize them. It'll be a fun venture, and I have some hotel days and I need to do some shopping anyway, so.
I remember I had a killer one, I've witnessed a couple times last year, on Tuesdays as all those. There was a huge attendance and.
You have to be very careful at that one, poachers do get kicked out of there,
No, for sure, I'm just
We're
saying, like,
hiding,
I'm
but I
just saying,
can watch
they're willing to
that.
come up that far, you know, and just, if
Let's
we could.
get that far, we've gotta get that concept out of our minds, okay, because we are shooting ourselves by saying, oh, it's all the way in Georgetown. These vendors come from much further, let's say Buena Vista or or Colorado Springs or whatever, and they are driving a good hefty way to all these other places. We are not that far. We are not in Alaska, for Christ's sake.
It really depends on who you talk to. I'd probably say about 30% of that Tuesday market did report that we are too far.
Well, then.
We
that's-
incentivize, we go the other way, but if you go over to Dylan's Farmer Market, Vale, those vendors I find much more receptive. I have a whole book of cards, I love to poach.
Well, we aren't that far, and it's a battle every day, and Craig probably, we all know this because getting someone to fix the plumbing up here is a nightmare, so, as you know, and that's my constant thing where they're, you know.
But we don't have to verbalize.
No,
it.
we don't,
No.
we need to change the narrative, there's a narrative, I'm trying to change it, got around town somehow, that's not real about the trust. The thing to do so that people don't think you're poaching, and I do this with retail, and we did this the other way, you buy the cheese, and then you get their car, and then you go home, and then you
Reach out,
you
exactly,
taste it, and
exactly.
then you call those people, and no one gives a flying dookie what you
Yeah.
do.
I like it, just buy the cheese.
Okay.
Alright,
Well, I guess incentivization and also maybe some way, is this, we're trying to aim for a monthly thing, or is it?
We could definitely shoot for something a lot more attainable, yeah.
Yeah, like once a month, and maybe tie it into a car club, because that's where you get.
and an enhanced experience for the vendor, where then they go, oh shit, George. And an enhanced experience for the vendor, where then they go, oh shit, George, sorry, oh shoot, Georgetown. Right, yeah, that's where we did that, we went up there for the day and had everybody go to this live X. So, I mean, we're kind of shifting, for example, our live music program at Cabin Creek, we're gonna start doing more of it on the weekends as opposed to the weekdays. We were doing it on the slow in the middle of the week. Well, that's pretty much me and my dad sitting there listening to live music, and Mary and Robert show up, and we go, hey, it's live music. Instead, we're gonna do it on the weekends and enhance the experience for 1,200 people instead of 200 people.
I agree 100%.
So,
Strike while it's hot.
think
Well,
about it.
then you'll start calling me going,
Yeah.
Ken, you next Tuesday for.
Suckers get heat from Denver anyway, so here, even
Yeah,
our vendors would appreciate,
Yeah.
the,
Yeah,
the nicer temps, it's worth the drive.
oh, I like it, right, that.
Yeah, we start attainable, but if we can, it will catalyst into a weekly thing, I know, because Crested Butte does it weekly, and there's.
And they're remote.
And they're built over.
No, let's do a premier destination, station, it's not.
Okay,
Sure.
It is, but it's
Well, that's helped
We've got-
become that.
a lot of
Let's
us
go ahead.
go to Jamestown area during that period.
Horse here.
guys, before we get buried here.
Sorry.
Let's get, if everybody's good, I don't want to cut the conversation, cause I like it, but,
You said.
food trucks.
Food trucks, I did put this in front of you, this is my rough outline, again, we will make a media kit, make it beautiful, advertisable. Not just putting things in newspapers, but again, being there in front of people, so this could really be part of our. Other strategy for farmers markets, but part of this is already done, like our new simplified ordinance, so this is the strategy on how we're gonna incorporate that language into why you wanna come up here. How it will benefit you and all sorts of,
Very, very.
your market in the mountains, how we can get our businesses to support it, our community integration, and a couple other, marketing channels and how we're gonna be directing them into that.
This is great,
This is professional.
isn't that right?
I
This is
thought the
great.
2 years I'd step up, that was.
You've been busy winning awards.
Font did you use? Did you get it approved by your chair?
It's Georgia font.
I was starting to like.
That's great, Jess, where are we at? Where does the ordinance stand?
So we had first reading, the last board meeting we've got, our next board of selectmen meeting is Tuesday. I don't know, Bridget, do you know if that's scheduled on the agenda so far? Okay, so then it should be passed,
Yeah, and what is it,
so that's,
30 days? Or is it upon,
oh, no, it goes into effect
is it immediately?
immediately.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
there'll
right,
be public hearing and then it should be passed. There wasn't any concern. I mean, there was a lot of dialogue about it, but there wasn't any
Good.
negative,
okay,
so.
great, I missed that part of it. Oh, well.
Oh, that's right, because we were having that's when Verizon went down.
Yeah, Verizon went down and I was, Great.
What's super fun for us, since Colton is coming to our business briefing tonight and he gets done at the county at 4, he'll be coming to help prep. I'm gonna be using that time to guide my conversations and get some more data points, so
Great.
hopefully we'll keep it moving before Friday.
Sixth Street one way. I attended remotely the select meeting last week.
Did you check?
I'll spare everybody my opinions.
Hopefully weren't that bad.
No, sorry, they weren't. Lots of talk about, need to get lots of opinions. My latest from Dennis is they've had lots of talk and gotten lots of opinions. And there's no red flags from fire department, sheriff's office, EMS. He didn't specifically say there weren't red flags from road and bridge, water and wastewater, but I'm assuming based on the rest of the text that those were okay too. And apparently the town has a traffic engineer now who also reviewed the plan. And said he didn't have a problem with it, so he thinks everything except for the parking changes will be ready for Memorial Day weekend. Yes, perfect.
Signs up and everything.
Town staff is preparing necessary signage for the Memorial Day weekend, and placement will be directed by the traffic engineer during the week of May 19th.
Oh my goodness.
Finally.
Might see something.
There's,
Might see a result of it.
I know, I feel fancy.
We should dress better.
You.
Is the parking gonna be the same parallel or gonna do?
Same, it's, nope, still gonna
Yeah.
be parallel, but it's gonna be 3-hour parking, right?
Right.
And then
Oh, good.
3-hour parking, and we're adding, I don't know,
Several, yeah,
16 or so parallel spaces along Loop Drive. Where you head up where the road's like super wide and just growing over the grass.
On the surface lots, you're going to be 3-hour parking too,
No,
okay?
that's a thought that I didn't have, but
Because we have a lot of employee parking, not of special help.
well, so
At least when I was.
it's an interesting question.
For 8 to
The
10.
idea behind the 3-hour parking on the street is to have turnover there. But you gotta have someplace for staff to park. So,
Can we have a designated employee parking area downtown? Where everybody does it?
I think we're
better.
more successful, especially if we don't have enforcement,
I can.
is just a communication to all staff, you know, or all businesses.
businesses,
To encourage staff to park in the back lots. And that's about all I think we can really successfully do.
or side streets like,
Side streets, sure, but like, yeah, you just an education of businesses will drive more if we have more front side parking for customers.
just,
Actually.
Yes.
It just promote that behavior.
can you craft a memo around the Sixth Street one day? So Jess has already prepared.
It's because Kevin realized in our lot for himself.
Is it in here, Jess?
Nope,
Okay, Jess is preparing.
And there's.
it has to be seen by staff and then it'll get passed on to my business.
I agree with Mike. I would say in Kevin's defense,
If you're preparing in our direction, we get to see it first. So you are being directed right now to share with us, along with staff.
I
Dennis has a problem with that. I want to have a conversation with you.
I agree with Mike, what he's saying about that, what you just said. However, in Kevin's, and I understand where Kevin's coming from. The hotel in Paris spot is donated to the town for a very small amount of money a year, right? And they're supposed to, let me finish.
No, I was,
Oh, okay. It's a lease, whatever, for a very small amount, or not, I don't know what it is. Anyway, but. He doesn't have parking in front of his thing because the town decided to put the bus parking in front of it. The buses park in front of that all day long, leave the thing running, and you can't even see the facade of this building. It detracts from this building, it makes it so that nobody wants to go there, and it makes it difficult, because cars parked in front of the building actually helps draw the attention down the street. The fact that we don't have any parking on this part of George, of this street, it's been proved, I can find the engineering reports about how that makes people feel more comfortable, be better in that parking lot, and we're not a parking lot, but that we can't do anything about. So then all the staff people, and he has 2 parking places for himself, but he has to go in and out all day. All the staff people park in that lot and all the house people park in that lot. So now he has 0 parking for the Hotel de Paris Museum. Plus he has the detraction of all the buses running their bus days and staying there all day long. when we could be doing it somewhere else. And everybody else's parking was always complaining to me, even during 2020, when I was told about, I have my head in my rear, that you need to be able to park right in front of one store.
Okay, real quick, if we go the one way, can we slide the bus down a little bit further, so it's not directly in front?
It really is supposed to be parked on 7th anyway.
The transition from
Yes.
Sixth Street to Griffith is kind of tight. And so parking ends right where I'm sitting. I'm looking at the
Right where
sign.
my truck's.
So from where I'm at, there's no.
Certainly further you can park.
But with the one way now, so we buy it down because.
Yeah.
So,
But they do, they diesel in front of us, and so the smell comes right in,
I've always been on the impression that, okay, so I will.
and most of the buses aren't ours.
I
So
wanna
that's another thing, they're not even my,
do,
I have no benefit.
does this group support the
Moving the
buses
buses somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yes.
parking there?
Yes,
All right, I'll have a conversation with Dennis, we'll add that to the mix, we'll get that striped.
I have heard.
Assign it 3-hour parking, we've gotta have an alternative for where they can
Sure.
disembark the tour buses.
But that's to my point, and maybe not there, but if it's a one way, it opens us up to so much more. Anyway, never mind, we'll find
Yeah,
out.
the 400
Well,
block
that's what
always
it's
gets
like.
left out of the equation. And so, and this is a great example of it, is, 3-hour parking in those 2 or 3 blocks, but not 400 block. And 400 block is the one that's suffering the most.
I didn't.
So please include us.
Oh, well, I was,
No,
I'll be frank, and it's coming from a guy who's lived here his entire life. I was always under the impression that that was desired by the hotel.
There could be a bus
Possibly.
loading and
Prior to
unloading,
me,
and then it has
I've never
to.
had a talk with the James about it, so that's probably true.
Anyway, we can pick
But
it up.
times change.
Yeah.
Yes, they.
Well, it's definitely gonna have to be very important.
Designated area for buses to load and unload, but then they have to move.
They have to move, they
Yeah.
cannot sit
It's
there and
not
idle.
parking.
But it would still be nice if you front of the hotel.
They are.
It was still, cause I did this as a tongue in cheek once, and said, why don't we put the bus unloading in front of Nice Edison, cause that's where they are.
Yeah.
And of course, oh, how dare you? And I always wonder why, how dare you there and not how dare you here?
That's true.
And so we need to think of another unloading place, and maybe we rethink how that happens. Is it gonna be on Argentine Street there? By your building, by down there?
Let's consult with our traffic engineer.
Why can't
Yeah,
they
yeah,
put it in front of the community center?
That's
Doesn't it make more sense for them to unload in front of the community center where there's information and direction
Actually,
and
that
restrooms and all of that?
Anyway, whatever, we have a
That
traffic
makes more
engineer.
sense than my building that's locked down.
Absolutely.
We have a traffic engineer.
No, we're not putting this over there.
Yeah.
Also, can we boot cars that park in that loading and unloading zone for more than 15 minutes?
No, I think we're gonna get rid of the loading and unloading.
Yeah, good.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Let's get Sixth Street as a one-way first, folks.
Yeah.
I agree.
Cause sometimes these wheels turn red, these wheels.
We know.
Okay, we don't have to bridge
I mean,
it.
I'm not saying let's not proceed on the bus.
I
piece,
I
but
gotta have
let's-
an alternative
At least we have consensus.
Yeah,
for a bus unloading area.
give it a chance to simmer in your mind, I'm sure you'll
Okay.
come up with a good spot or a couple of suggestions.
Okay. Anyway, so that's happening.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
I know this is dragging, this is a very positive meeting.
I think this is huge to have,
I'd say it'll be great.
yeah.
Gateway conversation, I haven't done anything on this.
We pushed Sixth Street a lot and we made room up for the truck, that's okay, we haven't done that yet.
What? When is DRC's next meeting?
Tomorrow.
No, I'm not going to that. So maybe on DRC's the next agenda, Bridget,
Smart.
would you
First
put,
shopping.
UPC on DRC's? Yeah, next meeting, I guess there's plenty of time. We're not, it's not an application, so you should go put it on the agenda. But just put us on the agenda as a discussion item regarding, just put monument sign in the gateway. How about that? And I'll try and prepare a little bit of a memo and package about our logic and stuff, and then so we can start to draw them into the conversation.
Are we talking about the archway sign?
Yeah, and get them. I think if we include them early, this will go very quickly and very well.
And Mike, weren't you putting together something?
Yeah, I mean, I just put,
Oh,
effort towards this, I plan to put a lot more together, but we just. I sort of materials here. So the first thing I hand out is the Loveland skier design, which
Not to, I just want to look.
I think this design was great.
Now it's the, we did it, switch to this reason.
Um,
I don't want to change who the both people.
so this is just a picture I took and I tried to delete like artifacts around it to try to make it a little bit clear.
I love how simple that is.
So,
In the
and then the next one I'm passing around is some ChatGPT-4 descriptions of kind of like what else described. It looks cartoonish, but it just kind of gives the idea, because I had originally thought of making it steel to match the Devil's Thumb Bridge, or propose a design that would look like that, and then the Loveland sign more rustic timbers, which I like as well. And I think we go either direction, it depends on what comes down to design and engineering and all that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I
like that a lot.
I think DRC, maybe I'm putting words in their mouth, but I think the steel is going to be more acceptable because of the industrial
I love.
than the timber. I mean, I appreciate the timber at Loveland in different settings. I personally don't have, I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me, but I can see because of the existing one and not wanting to be rustic and Loveland-ish, that's why they'd go the other way. But it's,
Except heavy timber was a big part of.
I
the,
understand,
you know,
but-
Construction and stuff like
yeah, no, I
that.
can,
and-
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
it's
I
more
have this voice in my head.
No, I know, no, I hear what you're saying, but you know, like the head frames and, you know, tunnel entrances. I mean,
Yeah.
timber was as much a part of the development of this valley as probably more important to the development of this valley.
Then maybe the base
But-
is different if you're trying to make where you're entering into a mining town.
This is completely unique.
Oh, yeah,
really
no,
cool.
That's
I
cool.
like it.
Well, and the timber, I mean, it's the whole reason that we, with HGLC, but the tower up in Silver Bloom. The reason it's a tower, because they were gonna say no to it, and we were doing the 106 process, and I was like, why don't we do a mining tower, like
Was
you
there-
add one there, and then the people that are smarter made that happen like a real thing, and that's what this leads to, and so.
That was great.
That's what this leads to, is that mining history thing, exactly that. This is exquisite, this is like more my taste, but this is lodgy. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, let's go to lodgy, and you're right, but that is Georgetown, it is unique. And they decide to say, hey, let's go get, look like, maybe thank you for all that hard work.
It was a hard work though. But I do have a guy, so that is going to hopefully be a professional draft.
Sure.
Maybe more detailed than I actually use.
What about
Well, materials.
that?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And I'll go with the steel, I'll pursue the steel first.
How will this be illuminated?
You know?
No,
Do we know yet?
So when I was asking, you know, ChatGPT and the design to that,
On this bottom plan sheet.
it was suggesting. Lifting the aluminum letters off and
Yeah.
backlighting them.
Yep.
Or
Oh, okay.
if we had that C channel, we might have an area where we could have.
Right.
Yeah, got it.
Upper illumination values area.
Yeah,
I
got
think
it.
that'd be the more affordable, easier way
Okay.
to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Can
Yeah.
you, all right, can you send me electronically these?
Fabulous.
And maybe we'll try and go ahead and slip it in the DRC packet as a discussion item.
okay,
Are you guys done with that?
Yeah.
No, I
I
think,
mean, I think we can do some more development around this, like with this stone. This is a little river rocky, which we don't really have up here.
yeah, I was going to
Versus-
apply some.
Versus angular, or even better, like a lot of, like this would have been constructed out of little rectangular blocks of granite.
yeah.
So something that looks a little more like that.
Okay,
The pedestals is kind of what I've had in my head a little bit. But this is fantastic.
cool, I'll keep moving forward.
Fantastic start.
Yay.
it's not much.
Then too cheap, and then.
There are, I did meet informally with Dennis. Night before last, and he has some other efforts in the works in the gateway that are consistent with. Kind of our overall desire to clean up, spruce up, redevelop kind of thing. So baby steps at this point.
Like
But
removing the crashed car that sits at the county. 11th and-
Thank God it's not in our lot, because
They-
we're leaving them there.
Dave and I got back from California, we pulled it down, we're like, well, that's new.
Where was it?
That was like
In
July.
Days ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Area.
the
Okay.
day it showed up, we had to take bets on how long it's gonna sit here.
Well, we're gonna have to pay to get it hauled up, that's all.
Yeah,
It's
so
gonna
it's
sit
kind of
there.
why it's there.
All right, thank you for that. Destination blueprint, this is Jess.
This is the other thing I put
I
in
asked
front of
her-
you. Thank you to those who
together.
responded to email and, all of the responses were in favor of just exploring the destination blueprint. This is offered by the CTO. This is basically holding our hand through our goals and our strategies that we've already put forward. So professional consulting, community workshops, stakeholder engagement, market access analysis, and strategic tourism plan with actionable follow-up steps. This is basically their way of saying, hey, if you need a hand to hold, we're here to do it.
It was in this,
Which one am I?
it was in this additional stuff that she handed out.
It's,
Oh,
it's the same format.
oh,
Change it to
here it
green
is,
next
yeah,
time.
thank you.
No,
But oh.
so
Actually, it's.
the cost on this is,
Yeah,
okay,
just an application and then
no cost.
Yep.
This is the one that helps us.
with expert-led facilitation, strategic planning, and implementation support to build customized community-driven tourism roadmaps.
And we have to submit this by June something,
Yep.
quickly. We've got less than, or just about a month, I think, to do this.
And this is able to help us. build
Applications
responses
closed
to-
June 18th.
No, it's my fault. My fault. And this also leads us to being able to do the thing, the responses to RLI or requests for our. RFPs,
RFPs.
RLI is a whole different thing. Perfect.
If we do,
Let's start using this as kind of our,
we have so many things in play that they would be able to help giddy up and drive.
That's great.
The application closes on the 18th of June, July 17th is when we will be notified either direction. If it's fully, if we are selected, August 4th, we'll kick off our program, October to December, our workshops will be held. January 2026, 100 hours of consulting begins, and by June of next year, we should be completed.
Does your bandwidth wise in preparing the application, you know what the application process looks like?
Yes. Easy, ready to go, not something I wanna skip.
All right, great.
I
Thank
will
you.
not do the July if I need to.
Okay, no, thank you for putting this together.
I'm happy to help. May I ask if it would be better for us, would it behoove us to include some of the surrounding communities in this and do a joint effort and take away from your bandwidth? Do you think, and you can always ask this by making a phone call to the person who's doing the grant writing, or the grant receiver, or the application, you know what I mean? Anyway, if you make a quick phone call to that, and without trying to say that we wanna do this and say, hey, is our town too small to go in directly to you? Figure out a way to word it, so you're not putting a seed in their head.
Yeah.
And because if it's a quick no, and we're not big enough, then we know that we need to collaborate. If it is not, then we can do it on our own and then expand later, which I prefer. I prefer the inclusion part, but I'd like for us to have our ducks in a row and then we do everybody else.
I'd rather see Georgetown, and perhaps we could make it look more inclusive with other organizations that support that same goal in Georgetown.
I agree. So what I'm saying is
The
start
business center,
inward.
like the community center, like, as opposed to stepping outside of our
Yeah.
our
No,
geographic.
I'm literally, you're exactly my point.
Okay.
What I'm saying is we wanna start at home. And then be the driver of this, so if we decide to expand out and work with other people in the way we want to, we're still the driver, so it's Georgetown Center, but we're working with everybody else. But my concern is that it's a non-starter if it's just a town of 1,000 people, and I would like to find out. And you can find that out pretty quickly when you're just asking that person, because they're not prejudging you, you're just like, hey, we're gonna put this in, but I wanna know if it's a non-starter at 1,000 people.
Do you have a sense as to how competitive this is?
It's not super competitive. I think they told me last year or when I spoke to them, they just did their consultation or their big whatever yesterday. But they were saying they roughly received maybe 20 applications.
Okay, so we're fine.
I
So,
would think they would almost appreciate, I don't wanna tell them how to do their job, but you know, that if they're working in a small community like this, they are going to have such a bigger impact. And look what we did, as opposed to getting lost in, you know,
I agree, but the conversation at the preservation conference for the last 2 years, which is something that we were talking about over a decade ago, is collaboration and the importance of it. And so, and non-siloing, and it's become a bigger statewide conversation with OETIT. And so that's why I had that reticence. However, it's not a financial, it's not a direct money give. So it might be easier. That's why I thought just a quick phone call would work, but if you think it's gonna put the seed in someone's head, then don't do
I
the
think
phone
you
call.
sent me the links too, I'll dive into it again and see if there's anything as far as where size matters.
well,
And then when the webinar is
But they don't have-
posted, I will push that out if you guys want to listen, or I'll get highlights.
I don't tell you that
This is
I don't wanna get lost,
I agree.
if we include more than Georgetown.
I don't want to include what I'm saying right away, what I'm saying is. Every grant writing thing I go to, and I'm sorry,
No,
I'm not loud because I'm like
no,
frustrated.
I told you.
Anyway, every grant writing thing I go to, everything I do with those things, philanthropy, preservation, all of them, arts, that's OEDIT too. They always say, hey, give us a phone call, just ask real quick, it's not a big question. Is me being this person, does it preclude me? Which is one reason I can't write a grant, because I've spent the time in the grants. But I made the phone call for the visitor, the school. And that phone call saved me hours.
Yeah,
So-
no, I get it.
let's have Jess, I think Jess should make a phone call. Her number's right here. And just be like, hey, because I'm reading a list of places that were awarded last year. City of La Junta, Monte Vista, Fremont County Tourism Council, right? Fremont County is made up of a lot of what? Little tiny towns. Grand County, Pagosa Springs Area Tourism Board, Manitou Springs. Ridgeway Area Chamber of Commerce, Silverton Area Chamber of Commerce. So there may be something to that, that
However,
notion. Now, hang on, let me
Go
finish. We don't have to. Do we have anybody watching on Zoom?
China's iPhone and Jordan.
Right, I guess, you'll understand why I asked that to say. I don't really wanna hitch our cart to the county right now, because I think county tourism is in a bit of a spiral. We've made some inroads with Idaho Springs, although I don't know how warm and fuzzy that relationship feels to me quite yet. But we're trying. But we could pull Silver Plume in the mix, and that would give us a quote regional kind of multi-community thing. We share a primary tourism resource in the train.
mhm,
They're not gonna Bigfoot us. They don't have the resources to Bigfoot us. And we really do wanna promote this whole area, because we benefit from that. So call her, ask her that question. We can all give some thought to, do we approach this from a quote unquote area perspective? Or do we go it on our own based on what Jen or Jess brings back to us?
realize too though, and I agree with you, and I could see. More partnering, collaborating, including Silver Plume in this, because we have so many things that, again, are shared with them. But, you know, look at Fremont County and all those little towns, they don't have the opportunity, the benefit of having an events and marketing person.
Yep.
And so they end up as, you know, it's just probably another volunteer commission similar to this, and so it makes sense for them to be pooling their resources. We have the luxury, as does Idaho Springs, to kind of run their own show, and so why aren't we running our own show? You know,
Absolutely.
so I don't wanna, I appreciate how they've, you know, come together there, but I don't think again, let's not shoot ourselves in the foot, because we have an opportunity and our act together with, you know, our staff.
Yeah.
To be able to do this.
I wanna say that, I just wanna, so that people don't misunderstand me. Georgetown, or, I mean, oh wait, that sounds very. We start with ourselves as the leader of what we're doing and we drive these things and we are the leader focusing on what our goals are first. And if we are the people who have to own the narrative to what we're doing, we can actually control the rest of it better when we're doing collaboration work. The only reason I brought this up is because it would save so much time and effort if we know right away to finish what we're doing. The other thing I'd like to say is, I do think that because we are the Georgetown Silver Plume National Historic Landmark District, I do think that we should be the big brother, a big sibling in this situation. And include them on more things, and if there were a way around it, I would love to have one of their 4 businesses. Be able to either attend, I know that we just redid the thing, so either attend as a guest or attend as a non-voting member in a way here. So that we can always include our partner up there in what we're doing without undermining our own goals, which sometimes when you start with what you're talking about, undermines us because we get big-footed. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my point. I just don't wanna waste
No, I
20
agree.
hours writing
Yeah.
something and then,
No, I get it.
nope.
And even if we were to title the application Georgetown Silver Plume National Historic Landmark District.
Yeah.
I
It might
mean,
be a bigger sell.
it might be a
Yeah.
bigger sell, led by
Yeah.
Georgetown Business Promotions Commission,
Yeah,
right? That kind of, I mean, that's
promotion.
great
Because
conversation.
yeah.
Not a committee, sorry.
Not a committee.
And we're a promotion, we don't promotions.
It also says planning, so I'm like, I don't know when that happened.
6th Street Building, Business Park Study and see, do we have anything current on this that we need to discuss?
No, this was a request to stay on
Yes.
the, stuff. That's all.
And you're gonna do the resiliency in another week, you're gonna go
Oh.
to the
Correct.
countywide or, you know,
We've,
area wide.
roped in Dennis, he has my packet from the previous time with all my notes, there's also the breakdown recap that I provided to Amanda. They're all invited along with the new police judge, just because the old police judge went, but I only interact with her for the 3 events that.
So maybe let's do that next time.
Yeah.
Have an update. Cool.
Lindsay reached out to me to get involved there soon. All right,
Do you want me to send you the recap?
2025 goals and objectives, just please. I don't have anything on this. I don't want to lose sight of it, though, we'll keep it on the agenda.
Some of our goals and objectives have been talked about in this conversation, so I'm
That's the
pretty
thing,
comfortable with that.
I think we're consistent with the few that we put out there in the conversation, so. I feel okay about that.
It's your last page.
Maybe on, oh, did you outline it here? Cause I was gonna say it would probably be helpful to
We can review it. real
kind of,
quick.
you know, in the small print way at the bottom. So that we can look down the line and say, oh yeah, we've done that, check, 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 so maybe it can just be kind of as part of the agenda.
Well, sure, we can, I mean,
Do you want me to reformat this
So-
and rework it with updates and
We
blah,
don't
blah,
need all
blah?
this space, we could just
Okay.
stick it on here.
yeah, just completely format.
Yeah,
Cool.
In your way. Well, let's do 2 things. Let's talk about this a little bit, because the segue in the commission members, I've got a few things that kind of coincide with this. So we'll kind of segue into the commission members conversation and we'll go back and forth for a minute. I had Cindy Neely poaches our minutes and watches our videos at night apparently. And she called me, CDOT's got a great grant program that'll fit really nicely with some of the things we've talked about for downtown. Improving the handicap accessibility,
Is it the main?
pedestrian mobility, it's their Main Street program.
I did push that, okay, cool.
It's so you might put on your list to start getting familiar with that.
I believe I sent that, to y'all like a month or
Yeah,
2 ago with the other Main Street program.
Timelines, so maybe a memo on that for the next meeting, timelines. I think it's max $250,000. You don't wanna go over that, cause then you gotta do all the headaches that I'm still dealing with for Argentine Street.
I think that.
Because they literally manage it like you're building a mile of interstate highway. If you go over $250,000.
I think that conversation had started in the fall
Yep.
between she and Kasia was supposed to start pursuing that, isn't that the one? We were gonna do realign the
Are you specifically
corners
emailed
for
her?
ADA.
She
and
did
all that?
not say that, no.
Yeah.
All right.
I specifically brought up the Main Street program and the Main Street grants, and she didn't.
Would you just
information,
double
yeah.
check that we're not duplicating everything there, because if she can pick that up,
Oh,
that would be great.
totally.
I think that's
If we
the
can
one.
support that, that would be ideal.
Yeah, so Kevin remembers that this was with our former administrator, that had been brought up to us in the fall, and it was brought up even at our board meeting.
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen meeting, that there was an opportunity. Now, I think we've missed the deadline on the first one, because it was in January or whatever, but. and
Find
maybe it's a running
deadlines.
grant.
Get with Dennis, see if somebody else is already working on it and how we can collaborate and help move it forward.
It was probably put on hold, to tell you the truth. Okay.
6th Street one-way or pedestrian way. We can have a conversation with. It's pretty easy to improve the parking lots downtown, it's just a matter of the town being willing to. The town has the material, the town has the equipment, the town has the staff.
I met with Dennis on Thursday morning and we discussed the two lots here and absolutely what you just said. He has the materials, he has the staff, he understands the need. We walked the perimeter, we had a great conversation, so.
Great. Yeah, that's all we really touched
Find
on.
a home for all of the millings.
No.
Right? No, I love having it right to the gateway to the lake area. I think it's awesome.
Leave them on here if it's happening.
Yeah, we'll just keep storing this, a little more stuff in that parking lot too.
Great.
Any other, things from the commission members? Random thoughts? Something not on the agenda you think we ought to be aware of? Next regular meeting, I would like to carve out about 30 minutes to have a discussion in the open about, get everybody's thoughts on helping Jess prioritize her time and giving me direction to take to the administrator regarding when she works, how she works, and how she prioritizes and stuff, because we've talked a couple of times. Quite frankly, going into the summer, she's in a place where she doesn't have time to do everything. Monday through Friday, gets drawn out on weekends. So we need to help kind of make sure our priorities are made clear. So that if something is gonna fall off the list, she has direction from us about what that thing is. We also need to go through and very specifically make sure we're all clear on her comp package. And that it's consistent with what it's gonna be. It's not consistent with what I thought it was when we hired her. So, I wanna carve out some time to have that conversation. Some of it may be executive session stuff. But just a heads up on that.
Okay.
Just essentially going into Memorial Weekend, working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I wanna be able to flex appropriately through that week, knowing you have restrictions week per week. You know, how can I make sure projects are being pushed forward? I'm working our events appropriately, and then of course, just the mental toll, so.
And I think some of that, your feedback and knowing when, just let's say the tourism board, whatever that means. I know there was discussion within the last month or so about your work week is not a Monday through Friday work week. That was discussed well before you were even hired, that you would be working weekends, and obviously maybe Tuesday, Wednesday would be the days off kind of thing. And so, and especially in the summertime, I think that was hearing that, and I know that was discussed. So, You know, sometimes it's not, Tuesday when the resident was not.
Yeah,
And then taking weekdays off. I know we're
Exactly.
this week, but taking weekdays off, as you know, I'm supposed to be off Mondays and Tuesdays, that's never happened.
Yeah, well, but I think it's
I know.
unfair, you know, the town is struggling with, and all of our employees, Bridget can even attest to this. We have to be respectful of days off and kind of a 40-hour work week. I'm sorry, we're, you know,
It needs to be.
and you know, yes, there's demands of meetings and your schedule is, you know, you can't even really describe it. But it's, you know, you've got to have your time off and just because you flex, to me, doesn't match that, doesn't make that happen.
No, and they have to be 2 days in a row at least, because
Yeah.
you can't get anything done. Don't come in my house right now.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, and I just wanted to see in everybody's here, that's why I'm sorry if I'm.
no, you're good.
This job is an events job, and her job is an events job for a whole bunch of people, and she's doing other things on top of events, and some of that is being leadership, and she's in leadership with CTO, which may actually help us get this grant easier. Things like that, and she's in leadership with other things. Those are part of the job, some of those are the things you've chosen to volunteer for, and that's your private business, but there are, some of those other things are actually things she's doing for work.
Mhm.
That goes against time. Also, the job is not a desk job in the office all the time. I understand that we've been burned in the past in certain ways, and we felt we were, however, we didn't see that, we didn't see eye to eye with what was going on in the past. But, so there is a touch base, obviously, because you have to have that, but a lot of this stuff is done remotely, it's done outside, it's done in other places. And we have to take that into consideration when we move forward.
So, what Jess has been doing the last few weeks, I think she sends it to myself, you and Dennis, just a.
Tracker.
This, well, it's a look ahead. More than anything, it's a look ahead. This is what I anticipate is going to take place over the next week and what my, right, and that, which is nice, because that helps us not intrude on her
Mhm.
off time. I'm like, I can look and go, oh, just flex this week, so she's not gonna be in on Tuesday. I'm gonna leave her alone.
So and also that knowing where things are going and things are. And you know, I've offered, and they're different, I mean, they're really ridiculous, like lawyer type contractors, like where you're like punching it all the time.
Yeah.
But there are other ways to do that like that, so you're not going, is she just television and like going to work, or is she just there because of that, and you know that what she's doing, thank you for doing that already.
And there is a difference between working remote and working from home. The goal of this job is to be accessible to the public. So whether that's working remote from the old school, or how we've talked about the town ambassador at the library, if the Wi-Fi reaches, like. I just wanna make sure I'm tackling our goals, I'm not falling behind. I do admit I have been a little overwhelmed lately, but I don't believe anything's fallen too far in the cracks, but always hold me accountable.
But see, I don't think working from the library or being the ambassador is working remote. You're working, that's
Okay.
just the
In your
location.
community.
And so remote seems like, you know, you're off in your condo in Vale and you're out of town. I know, you know, well, but
Yes,
Well, no,
so,
seriously, like, I mean, you could have an office hour at the coffee shop. Be like, and tell the business owners, hey, listen, every other Tuesday,
Exactly.
I'm gonna be at the coffee shop from.
and we've
10 to 11.
talked about that.
as
Working
long
on
as
stuff.
you post it, people can find me,
If you
like.
wanna pop in and
Oh,
share a thought with me or
I know
whatever,
that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great.
But
So, anyway, I just wanna make,
I hate the dropping thing for town.
I got one more thing.
We'll talk.
okay, all right, so I just wanna put that in everybody's here.
Thank you.
Trebet was joined.
I just meant,
She had a childcare discussion she wanted to.
yeah, here,
We're gonna plan on replacing the lampposts that have been knocked over by vehicles. Cause I've seen two of those lampposts now that are just.
I don't know, I'm taking.
Yes, Hamilton is working on the streetlights and all of that. He brought together a proposal or just a update on it at the last board meeting. And so he's working on that. He's got all the parts. Hopefully it ties into some of the conversation that you've been having with Dennis as far as what our streets.
We've got the
look
one
like.
by fire station for them, we got the new one that got hit down there in the Meadows district.
Yeah, I bring it up about once a month.
poke the bear.
Jess, I see you've joined us. Did you want to introduce your topic and
Yeah, are we already at the end of the agenda?
We talk fast.
I'm nothing if not efficient.
Nice. Well, sorry to be late, everybody. We had school cancellation and sick kids, so I got here as soon as I could. I just wanted to ask the group, and I don't even know how much this group like has, you know, what the authority is. But basically in regards to childcare, I think a lot of you know that I've been working really hard on childcare. And obviously, like anything, it's gonna take a pool of money of resources. So one of the ideas is to try for just the summer months this upcoming year to ask for all of our local businesses to do roundup on their bills, to present that as an option for customers to round up for childcare. And so I thought we would try just the 3 summer months of, I guess it's May now, so June, July, August, maybe September also, since that's leaf peeping, and see how much money we can get from that roundup. So I don't know if this is something that, like, as BPC, we want to, you know, just like endorse basically, and then I, in my childcare role, will go and ask individual businesses. But basically where this money would go is directly towards GCS and higher teacher pay and scholarships for local kids.
You answered all my questions. Who's gonna be the collector of the money, who's the beneficiary, and who's gonna manage that? I personally don't have a problem from a communications perspective, using our channels to help communicate that to businesses.
I think our commission could write a letter endorsing that then you could take in your package as you approach these different businesses, because obviously you're setting something up, or I shouldn't say obviously, I'm assuming, I shouldn't say that either, that something is being set up outside of the town of Georgetown to be the ultimate, collection point of this revenue and how it's going to be processed. But if you can say, Town of Georgetown Business Promotion Commission supports this, and here I have a letter if you'd like that. That's almost like writing a letter supporting a grant proposal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Anybody opposed to that notion? Jessica, could you put together a paragraph with the relevant information? Get it to Jess, she'll draft a memo. I'll go through it, just make sure it's consistent with the conversation that we're having here.
Yep.
And then we'll provide it back to you to include with your promotional materials, or when you're walking out talking to businesses.
do you have a name for that? Is it Georgetown Childcare? Is it Clear Creek County, blah, blah, blah? I mean, are you operating under an umbrella of a?
Oh, well, first, the nonprofit that it goes to is the nonprofit that I sit on a board of, which is Expanding Early Care and Learning in Clear Creek County. And that's the board that's been working, like us in Schools Foundation. So I don't know if that was the question, but that's the nonprofit that's set up to take the money, or Schools Foundation actually might have to take the money. Regardless, I think we're just calling it Roundup for Childcare.
Okay, so we should make a motion to that Business Promotion is going to write a letter supporting Roundup for Childcare.
Sounds good. Is there a second?
No second.
Move to second. And any further conversation? All right, thanks, Jess. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Great. Box checked.
Thank you.
All right, anything else for us to discuss? Everybody has to eat Jess's breakfast that she made special for us here to celebrate her 2 years on the job. That's how much she loves this place, that she made us.
Yes, she made us breakfast.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aren't we great employers? We're the